Project.
Welcome to the Project, the podcast with the mission to cover every project throughout pop culture and history. I'm Sam.
And I'm Lewis.
And this week we are talking about the 11th and 12th episodes of the Zeta Project.
Yeah, the final episodes of season 1. And boy, did it not feel like the end of season 1.
Yeah, I've got a feeling that maybe it was like split in two or something. I feel we can talk about it a little bit later. But it's a spin-off from the Batman Beyond universe, isn't it? So it's kind of a DC early noughties cartoon. I mean, we've covered it plenty of times already. So I'm sure
will be the 6th time.
That's right. So I'm sure a lot of you will be familiar. But we'll be talking about that a little bit later. We've got time codes in the episode description if you want to skip straight to that. We've got a couple of bits in personal projects. We're going to cover the last 2 episodes of Andor, is it?
Yes, and the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special.
Yeah, that's right. So we've got lots of fun stuff to be talking about today. Before we get into that, how are you today, Lewis?
Yeah, I'm good. Getting towards the end of the year. It's been a while since we recorded, and I spent most of that time watching the World Cup.
Yes.
I remember during the Euros when we mentioned it was hard to kind of gauge how far we're through the tournament and stuff we were going to record early. But we're literally recording the day before release, so we're pretty much up to date with the World Cup in terms of release.
Yes, we are, yeah.
Group stages are done. I've watched every game so far. It's sitting at work with like my phone just sitting on my desk in front of me.
Like, very committed. But
it's been very entertaining. Lots of shots and you asked me how it was.
They say lots of shots. I was like, well, I mean, that's part of the game, isn't it?
But yeah, that is what has taken up much of my time. And as a result, I've been having like odd days off work.
Yeah,
because I had to
quite
use
a nice couple of weeks for you. Then, really.
It's been pretty good. How about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, nothing quite as exciting as that. We were just saying just before, I've watched a couple of the England games, but nothing quite as much as you. But that was to be expected, wasn't it, going in? But I'm all right. Yeah, not too bad. Like you said, we're recording on a Sunday. What is it now? Early afternoon. So a little bit of a different time. We've got a Christmas tree up in the Project studios.
We do the Project tree.
Yeah, it's covered in all different ornaments that are based entirely on episodes we've covered. Yeah. You can see Frank Zagarino's on the top. the star of our lives.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And down on the bottom is the teacher from my science project.
What was he?
I don't know. The Oscar winner.
Was it Dennis Hopper?
Yes. Yeah, there he is.
Is that right? Yeah.
Down at the base of the tree.
I didn't think that's where you were going with that, so fair enough. That's a bit of a deep cut even for us.
Wow, there we go.
But yeah, no, I'm good. I'm excited to get back in. Like you said, we've had 2 weeks off, so it's it's been.
You wouldn't have noticed though.
Yeah, you guys wouldn't have noticed, but
carefully planned.
I was crying the whole time. I couldn't wait to get back in the studio. So yeah, we've got a first segment though, haven't we, Lewis?
We do, and it's got a little theme tune that goes something like this. Project news.
Wow.
So as always, I've Googled the word project to find some news. You'd think, like 2 weeks off, there'd be loads. Yeah. There's not. I've got one bit of news.
There's not.
And even that, there's a whole lot of nothing said in this article.
Okay, I'm looking forward to it.
Simon Pegg, Nick Frost, and Edgar Wright have teased the possibility of reuniting for a new project.
Right. Should they post the photo together?
So Simon Pegg posted the poster of The World's End on Instagram.
Right.
And said, hard to believe it's been 9 years since we were shooting The World's End. Hey, Nick Frost and Edgar Wright, it's about time we assembled again, isn't it?
Right.
And they both kind of replied
saying no.
Nick Frost said, hell yeah, I'm free from September. And Edgar Wright said, new number, who dis?
Fair enough.
Also Thomas Turgoose from This Is England,
right? Yes,
replied saying, please assemble, I'll come back and be the tea boy.
Is he in any of them?
I don't think so.
No,
He's
no.
probably just a fan.
No, I was just thinking he might be in World's End. I've not watched that one quite as much as the other two.
No, I did like the World's End.
It was good. It did feel different, didn't it? It was a little bit more polished, a little bit. It was I think it was more emotional than the other two.
Definitely. And I think the reverse of the characters of Simon Pegg and Nick Frost is noticeable as well.
Definitely, yeah.
They can both play those two types, but where the first two has clearly got like their character archetypes pre-written.
But
yeah, I mean, good, I'd be all on board for those three working together again.
Because they've all kind of done quite different things. Because Edgar Wright's kind of much more in the Hollywoods.
Yeah, he's off doing big Hollywood stuff.
I was going to say in the Hollywood
Soho
machine, but
recently.
which was it was alright. I didn't love it, but it was. He's quite a fan of kind of schlocky kind of horror stuff.
Yeah,
and that's kind of what it leans into a little bit. It's a fun film, but and then obviously Simon Pegg's doing pretty well throughout.
He's currently filming Mission Impossible,
right?
So...
Yes, and he was in all the Star Trek reboots.
Yeah, Star Trek. He was.
I think he wrote the third reboot, didn't
I think
he?
so.
Yeah. And then Star Wars and Nick Frost is still popping up, but not quite to the same degree.
Yeah,
I saw him in it was that. Did you see that wrestling one, Fighting with My Family?
No,
which is actually quite good, and it was like a slight biopic, but you wouldn't know, of like some WWE wrestler from like the north of England who.
Right. Okay.
And she's flayed by Florence Pugh.
Wow.
No, she's played by
Florence Pugh should stop
flaying. I know.
People.
Yeah, but he plays the dad in that, and Lena Headey from Game of Thrones is the mum. So it's quite. They're like amateur wrestlers from England. Maybe it's not the north of England.
That's weird.
But it's a good fun little kind of sports film, those kind of ones. And The Rock's in it, which is quite fun.
Of course, he's in everything.
He turns up. But that's the last thing I watched Nick Frost in. So
I can't even think of the last thing. But let's do another one. Go on.
Obviously, we know that at least 2 out of 3 of them listen to the Project. So I'll let you listeners decide who you think that may be.
Yes.
And Thomas Turgoose as well. He listens, definitely.
He's a keen fan.
He's always writing it. He's actually on the tree. He's kind of in the middle of the tree.
Yeah. Hi, Tom.
Anything else on that one?
No, that's it. And that's the project news for the week. So nice and quick. We can get straight into the main project.
Yeah. Zeta Project.
End of season 1. It's been a long old season.
It has. How long? Just over a year we've stretched out?
Yeah, I think so.
We managed to really make that last.
And we've got a season 2 which will pick up at some point.
Yeah, some point in the new year once we
we'll probably have a bit of a break from Zeta.
Yeah. We've got a couple of ongoings to finish off, haven't we? And it's nice to and we could start another ongoing in the middle, but I don't know if that's wise.
Well, we could do actually. It might be nice to then revisit Zeta. Anyway, that's a bingo. Way down the line. Yeah. So if you want to hear all the backstory and all the behind the scenes stuff, you know what to do.
Yeah, it's something like episode 19 or something. Isn't it?
Yeah. To hear all that, but I will tell you that the Google description is: a robot rebels against its creators, refusing to kill, and goes on the run.
Oh, we've actually fallen back into the 9 pattern, haven't we? Because this is episode 69.
69.
Nice. The nicest episode you'll ever face.
What an episode to watch a average kids cartoon.
So this one starts number 11. Or are you going to do ratings for this?
Oh yeah. I've got IMDb ratings. Kid Genius.
Kid Genius is number 11, and I'm going to guess that it is a number 6.9.
Oh, is that because it's episode 69?
Exactly,
well, maybe we should have released this episode in 7 weeks on episode 76 because it's 7.6.
Right. Okay. To be fair, I mean, I don't know why I picked 6.9. So it's fair enough. Nothing else to say on that one.
The episode starts with a long flashback.
This is what I was thinking.
A recap.
Both of them, these two, are both lots of previously, which I don't know if we've ever had before.
No, but I guess
They're both ongoing storylines are kind of being wrapped up a little bit, I guess.
Yeah.
Because this one kind of delves back into the Bucky character that we've seen a bit
so
of.
that's it. We get a flashback to those 2 episodes where we had the kid genius himself,
Yes.
Bucky Barnes. No, I don't think it's
Pre-Winter Soldier Bucky.
Yeah.
He made his own robot arm, clearly.
But we remember all that because we covered that. So I was like, cool,
Yeah.
it's Bucky.
It goes over the Ultimate Remote plot line quickly where he has a thing like a universal controller.
Yep.
And then there's also the bit where another robot comes and fights Zeta and he helps in some way.
Yeah.
Something like that.
So this starts with Ro and Zeta like driving a bike through like the desert.
Yeah, it's like a hover
highway.
bike kind of thing, isn't it? Yeah.
And then they get a tornado warning and they look around and it's like a perfectly nice day. And they're like, that's weird. And something takes control. The warning system takes control of the bike and is gonna take them to like a safe place.
Because I think there's a semi joke where Zeta's like, no, the robots can't, machines don't make mistakes, and Ro's like, that's not mine, you dumb bitch.
You fucking idiot.
Yeah, and there's like they almost crash and then it like reverses backwards.
Yeah, it starts speeding past other cars, and at this point it goes past the sign saying Area 51 ahead, and I was like, oh, cool. We're getting an alien episode. No,
I completely missed that. I must have been writing something down at that point.
But as they're flying, they nearly crash a couple times, but Zeta grabs onto like a billboard.
That's right,
or a road sign, and kind of saves them. And Rose's like, next time we take the bus.
Yeah. And they actually talk about that later, don't they? Yeah.
The next episode, I think
it's later on in this one. They get out of the bottom of the bus.
Oh yeah, and in the next episode they take a bus as well.
Yeah.
And anyway, the bike carries on taking them away, and they arrive at this like nice suburban house.
Yeah,
and they're like, "What's going on?" And it's Bucky. He's got his universal remote.
Yeah, and but it still doesn't really explain how he I guess he hacked security cameras and found where they were or something.
Yeah,
but the NSA are constantly trying to find them, and he finds them super easily.
The NSA should hire Bucky.
Yeah, we'll talk about it as we go through, but I really was hoping for a bit more resolution on the NSA plot.
Oh yeah,
I'm glad they make an appearance in the next episode, but they're backdrop at best, and Agent West is just there in a crowd.
And that woman who was introduced a couple episodes ago, who's now sympathetic towards Zeta.
Yep,
I don't think we see her.
No, I don't think she's in the episode, or if she is, she's in that group shot towards the end. But Bucky's showing them around his house.
He's complaining about his parents.
Yeah, they're like, oh, is this where you live? And he's like, this is where I used to live, but my parents are bad parents. And then there's a picture where they look like they're hugging him, and the guys are like, oh, they seem nice. And he's like, they only worked and I had to escape and go to the research place.
Yeah.
So in the last time we met him, he was living and kind of working as like a child prodigy at this
like a lab
place with this guy, Dr. Tanner.
Yes.
And it turns out through this bit here that the parents were making this reverse genome anti-aging device.
Yeah, it's called the genome generator. Yeah, basically makes people younger.
That's right. And Dr. Tanner hired them. Yeah. And now he's keeping them hostage, apparently, because they can't finish the machine or something like that.
Yeah, and Rose's like, I don't care. I'm leaving.
And then Zeta's like, if something was happening to your family, remember you've got no family, and if something happened to them, wouldn't you care? And she's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like, remember she's got family. And yeah, so then we get like a bus and a bunch of old people.
Yeah, a load of old people coming off the coach, and it's like some sort of like we find out it's a spa, but it looks like a holiday resort or something like that.
Yeah,
and then the little robot, like a little droid from Star Wars, comes up to try and open up the luggage bit, and then the 3 characters, Zeta, Ro, and Bucky, all come out.
They're
she's like,
in the luggage.
Oh, when I said take the bus, this isn't what I meant. It's
yes.
like, wah, wah, wah.
And then Zeta changes into an old woman.
Yeah, so Zeta has this holographic disguise, and normally he can cover another person entirely. This time he doesn't cover their feet, so they have 3 sets of feet.
Yeah.
And for the joke, I guess, but it's a little bit inconsistent.
And quite often Ro will like get on his shoulders or something.
Yeah. And in this, they're kind of, when he decloaks, they're just like hugging.
Yeah. It's a bit weird.
It doesn't fully make sense. Maybe he can't cover 3 people. I don't know.
Yeah, but they are at the Tanner Rejuvenation Center.
Yeah. And we get initially we get Tanner on the screen. He's kind of bragging about his invention.
Yeah.
And then we get kind of, what is it, Mr. DNA? It's very Jurassic Park, isn't it? Yeah.
Who talks about how they de-age cells.
Yeah, and it's got a little cartoon with a helix. Not a talking helix, but it's drooping and it's like, well, and then it gets rejuvenated.
Yeah.
It was quite fun. I quite enjoyed that bit.
Yeah, I don't know, if that science makes any sort of sense.
I don't think it does. It's it keeps replicating and it gets worse and worse. I mean, that's kind of how aging works. I think,
but Zeta finds where the parents are. He hacks into a computer.
I think they're on the screen, being positive about the thing as well. They're and then Bucky's like, "Oh, I'm the child of salesmen. I hate my parents."
Yeah.
And then he finds out they're in Block C, and he goes, "Oh, I thought they would be in Block S for sellout." No,
yeah, trying too hard, Bucky.
Yeah.
But they go to Block C and they find out that his parents have been turned into toddlers.
Yeah, it's kind of predictable where it was going, really, wasn't it? Or did you not really?
No.
I was like, I think because there's a Futurama episode where something kind of similar happens.
Yeah.
And even as it progresses, where they just, get a bit younger as it goes on. But yeah, they go in and it's all messy, the lab, isn't it? And then, they find them just kind of, just wildly, just hitting the buttons.
Fucking kid parents are the most annoying characters.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
There's I think it's an end, what is it, a mid episode bit where they see the parents and then they all just look at each other and they just keep looking at each other for 10 seconds and then it just fades to black and it's that's the big reveal that there's some children.
Yeah, and so one of the kids hits Bucky with a hammer.
Yeah,
and he's kind of chasing after him, and then this big monster thing so appears at the door. It's
it's kind of like a caveman, isn't it?
Caveman, yeah.
But I thought a little bit, because it's from the kids' perspective, they're running around the corridor. It looks like it's this massive, Bigfoot kind of thing.
Yeah.
When we see it later, they're more squat, because Zeta's a foot taller than them, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But they've got ripped, almost loincloths, like a caveman. But it looks maybe it's a pattern.
And it kind of looked like clothes, Hawaiian shirts, perhaps.
Exactly. Yes.
And what demographic often wears Hawaiian shirts?
The ones that we might have seen earlier in the episode, getting off on the bus.
But they're running away from these monsters.
They've got
cavemen.
shock baton things. Don't they, which is quite cool. And there's 3 of them, and then they all get onto Zeta. They all start shocking Zeta.
Yeah, and he's out for the count.
Yeah, his camo goes off, and then
they kind of corner the kids and the slightly older kids.
Yes. Oh, maybe that's the bit where it ends for the episode. Oh, there is definitely a bit where they all looked at each other for ages.
I think it might be that bit.
Is
that
it
rings
that
a
bit?
bell.
Yeah, I just remember it being why are we still? And they just just looking back and forth at each other, double taking between themselves. Are you seeing this? Are you seeing what I'm seeing? It's we all saw it.
And it's also these cavemen are just standing there letting them all look at each other, they're just holding these sticks oh, you haven't looked at him yet, and you need to look at him.
I think Zeta's in the middle and he's just looking back and forth between the other 2 and then looking at
Oh yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, well, not really.
But Tanner, we see Tanner shouting at people.
Yeah, some people are you owe us 20 million credits or something, and we never find out what that's about.
He's losing money.
It's investors, but they look like a gang of teenagers, so I don't really understand.
Yeah, I thought it might be the biker gang.
Yeah, the ones we had before.
But that wouldn't make any sense.
It would have been fun if more people were connected in this. It's not hard to be oh, Sven's back, you know. Sven.
A lot of that. So I've been rewatching Lost, and there's so much. The first couple of seasons is like flashbacks to.
And is it
stuff
people
previous.
finding out that
there's just always like one of the other people who's just like in the scene, but they don't really interact. Like
right.
There's one the other day where two people are sitting in a car having an argument. And one of them goes to open the door and it opens onto somebody and they're like, I'm walking here. And they like walk off and it's like, wait a minute, that's that guy from the island.
That's funny. I like that. See, I think that's...
It's good fun.
I imagine it gets to the point where it's a little bit silly, but it doesn't feel like a hard inclusion to shows like this.
Yeah.
To make it feel like more of a world and less episodic. And you know.
It kind of makes sense with Lost in that sense because
Yeah.
we know they're all in Sydney like a month ago,
right,
so, because they all got a plane together, so it makes sense they bump into each other.
There are a lot of Australians on the island.
There's one. one pregnant woman.
Wow. Okay.
And the rest are.
I've not watched a single episode of Lost, but you know what? I would talk about it in personal projects, but I haven't watched enough of it. Me and Amy started watching Heroes again.
Oh, nice.
Not Heroes again, just Heroes. Because we were talking about it. Amy never watched the first season. Apparently, she watched the last season.
Great.
But I used to really like Heroes, and
I never really got into it. I
first-
think Christina really liked it.
first two episodes are really solid. Like it's quite fast paced, and
Yeah.
So I'll probably be talking about that in detail at some point.
Yes.
So Tanner's like in his room, isn't he?
Yeah,
Like,
and the
in
monsters
office.
bring Bucky and Rose.
Yeah, and Tanner's like, Bucky, about time you got here, and it's like you didn't invite him. So
Yeah.
maybe he did tell him where he was.
Yeah, and the monsters bring in Zeta as well, and Tanner's like, oh!
Because the last time we saw him, he like threatened to cut his head off with a circular sword.
Yeah.
And he was like fully like, Zeta was pretending to kill him to like scare him shitless.
Yeah,
and he is still scared shitless.
But Zeta's knocked out, so it's fine.
Yeah, he kind of realizes and comes back out from behind the desk.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh.
Tanner explains that the cavemen were results of an early glitch that instead of de-aging people,
devolved
them, which it feels like a completely different science.
Yeah, and he calls them like ape men or something like that,
Yeah.
or Ape-People, and it's like,
and he's like, now we've got this other problem, and open up this door, and there's just like loads and loads of kids in there.
So the first, I guess, like group of old people that came to the spa just got turned. Well, the first lot were Ape-People.
Yeah.
And then the next lot were babies. And then they've just seemingly just been treading water since then. I guess they just opened, maybe. But the thing about these...
And they're still letting more old people in?
Well, we see them later. They're all going like, oh, when can we use the machine?
Yeah.
But the thing about these ape men, right, is why... So we see later that they're capable... I mean, they're capable of using technology staffs...
Yeah.
And we see later they're also capable of driving buses. So they're not so devolved that they can't do stuff. But why are they working for him still?
Maybe it's like we're hideous monsters. We can't go out into the real world.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I'll look after you. You can work here.
Or it's like, if you work for me, I'll change you back.
Yeah.
Because I was very surprised. We'll talk about it in a moment. But when we see one of them driving a bus at the end, I was like, okay, I guess these like primitive people can use.
Yeah, why not?
Large vehicles.
Why not? But Tanner wants Bucky to fix all these problems.
Yeah,
because he's a kid genius.
Ro's going to be held hostage with him while it happens.
Yeah, and he's going to keep hold of Zeta until the repairs are made.
But then as soon as they go, he's like, get rid of that son of a bitch. And then they chuck him in like a trash compactor thing.
Yeah, it's very Star Wars.
It is very Star Wars. Although he gets out in a slightly different manner, doesn't he?
Yes. Bucky begins working and he keeps getting distracted because the kids are just fucking about.
Yeah.
And this scene was so annoying. Like, it was really grating.
There's like, his mum, the kid version of the mum is like bashing around on the computer, and the dad is like running around like a little dickhead.
Yeah,
and he starts swinging
destroying
on,
everything.
Like the big like laser arm thing that shoots the genome ray or whatever is like swinging around because the mum's controlling it, and then the dad's like hanging on it, and Bucky's just like, because I guess the whole thing is like Bucky was like, my parents were really strict with me. And then
Yeah.
Ro keeps taking the piss of how strict he's being with his parents. But he's not really being strict because they're just
No.
being like little twats.
They
Basically,
really
aren't they?
are.
But yeah, and then at the same time, we see Zeta wakes up in the trash compactor and starts cutting through with his like laser cutter thing. And that lasts a little while this whole baby thing's happening.
Yeah.
And then the machine kind of turns on, doesn't it, while they're both underneath the laser ray thing?
Yeah, and it
it's
starts zapping the
it's
babies.
like the waves going like...
Yeah, and it won't shut off. And he's like, bro, I need your help. And she's like, well, what do you need my help for? Like, what am I good for? And he's like, you're good at breaking stuff.
Yeah.
So she breaks the machine and they're now like proper babies.
Yeah, the thing is, for someone who's supposed to be a kid genius, he doesn't actually do anything smart in this whole episode. Like, Zeta comes in a moment and he comes in and stops the machine by like using his little like weird wire out of his arm that hacks it. Bucky's just like, I guess because he's distracted by the babies, but Zeta Ro breaks it, it stops, and they're now babies rather than toddlers.
Yeah. Zeta turns back into human Zeta when he gets out of the garbage.
Yeah.
And
oh yeah, no, I skipped the part where he's quite badass in this. He's kind of walking along and he's like, doo-doo. And then there's like two ape men on the door.
Yeah.
And he does he uses his long arm and he like grabs one of the batons and stuns the other one.
Oh yeah, he does.
And then he's like, at this point I was like, oh yeah, I quite like Zeta. Like, I feel like he's pretty cool in this episode.
Zeta actually has an infiltration unit.
Yeah, he's actually because he always seems to get like snuck up on or like whatever or overwhelmed. But in this, when he's just like, yeah, and then he goes in, hacks the machine, and then an ape man comes in and he like lasers the ceiling and puts rubble on top of them.
Yes.
And I'm like, yeah, he knows what he's doing for once.
Yeah, but then the whole place is gonna blow because the machine. I'm like,
it was something to do with like geothermal power or something.
Because it's powered. They're on like hot springs.
Yeah, because we see in a sec the old people are all like sitting in hot mud baths.
Yeah,
but they're seemingly over like geysers.
Yeah,
geysers.
Geysers.
Oh, geysers on geysers.
Geysers on geysers.
But they're not in Gaza though. Otherwise, it would be
geezers and geysers in Gaza. That would be good.
And they're listening to Lady Gaga.
Geezers listening to Gaga in Geezers listening to Gaga in geysers in Gaza.
I can't follow that. Geezers listening to Gaga in geezers in Gaza.
Yeah, sure.
Or geysers in Gaza.
Geysers in Gaza.
Geezers listening to Gaga in geysers in Gaza.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what's happening.
That's solid. I mean, it might be in Gaza. We assume they're in America, but...
Yeah. Is there any hot springs in Gaza? Oh, I wouldn't know. I've never been.
I'm glad you answered your own question.
But yeah, they get outside and Ro's like, oh, wait a minute. There's dozens of kids in there. And Zeta's like, I'll go back and get them. You get Tanner or something.
Yeah, there's a whole thing. Yeah, they get out and then they realise there's just like loads of kids.
But Tanner goes and says hello to the geezers listening to Gaga in geysers in Gaza.
There is an article here, a guide to Israel's natural hot springs.
That's what you're looking at. There you go. So
that's where they are. Yeah.
But yeah, Tanner goes and says hello to the geezers listening to Gaga in geysers in Gaza. And then there's like an earthquake.
Yeah, and the one hot tub that's empty just like starts shooting up in the air. I'm like, it's a good thing no one picked that one.
Yeah, and they all start panicking and start
and then
running.
Just as that's happening, an ape man comes out and is like, ooh, ooh, ooh. And then they're all like, what the fuck is this? And they all start panicking even more.
And then the whole building blows up. And we're like, okay, guess Zeta and all those kids died.
Does it blow up straight away?
It does just blow up.
And then we get a bit where
Tanner is chasing Ro and Bucky with a
gun.
gun.
It's like the laser staff thing, and he's like, pew, 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 pew. And he corners Bucky, and he's about to like shoot him or something.
First, Bucky's
did we say that Zeta had all the kids in the bus? Because I think we saw that.
Not yet. Okay. So Bucky gives his parents to Ro and's like, I'm the one he's after. Take them away. I mean, it's kind of more of that. Oh, actually,
Yeah,
he's not too much of a dick.
He kind of has a redemption arc in each episode.
Yeah.
Apart from the first episode, I think he was just like murder Tanner.
Yeah. But he gets chased by Tanner. Zeta then comes along holding like a ton of kids. He's got like this little, those like garden pools that you have. That you just
like a
put the hose
pool
pipe
thing.
in. Yeah. I thought there was way more kids than that. Maybe he left some behind.
Yeah, when we see the bus at the end, spoiler alert, they get on the bus. When we see the bus at the end, there's like 5. I think he must have dropped a few along the way.
Yeah, fucking hell. But he puts them on a bus.
Right.
Tanner's found Bucky like hiding and like corners him, but then Zeta...
Yeah, he's just sitting like by a rock, like holding his legs. Like
yeah, it's
he's given up quite quickly.
Yeah,
he's in like a sitting fetal position, just like waiting for his death.
Pretty much. But Zeta comes and saves him.
Yeah.
Tanner falls in the mud.
Yeah, and I thought like because he falls in the mud. I think so. Ro like drives a car up and is like and scares him.
She's got a bus,
a bus up. So Zeta's on one side, Ro's on the other, and he like slips and falls face first in the mud. And then they just kind of leave, and I'm like, so is that how like that's the most kid friendly way of stopping the bad guy ever? You push him in some mud and just leave him there.
Yeah,
but we do see what happens to him after that, but not much really.
But yeah, Bucky. Apparently, they got on the bus without Bucky,
and they don't slow down for him.
And he's like running after the bus. Luckily, Zeta can stretch his arms out and pick him up.
Yeah, but there's like a good bit where he's just chasing the bus, and it's like someone that we know is driving the bus. Why don't they just slow down a little bit?
They stopped and let Zeta on, who was standing with Bucky.
They cut a scene where they were like, "Oh, maybe we'll leave Bucky. He's a bit of a swag. We're just gonna see if we can get rid of him."
But Tanner gets on another bus with one of the monsters.
Yeah, this is where like a monster just drives up, driving a bus.
Drives up. Get on, Tanner.
Pretty much. And then Tanner jumps on and pushes him out of the way and starts driving. And it's
and the rest of the building blows up.
Yes.
And Zeta says he can help reverse the process for kids.
Yeah.
They turn around and there's no kids on their bus.
And it's like, oh no, they all blew up in the building.
And then we see Tanner driving the bus and it's full of kids.
And he's like, I hate kids.
Yeah.
But I don't think that was a thing we knew about Tanner, was it?
Well, he hates Bucky.
Yeah. So I guess, yeah.
I was thinking, like, it wouldn't be amiss of his character to just dump all the kids out of the thing and drive off. Why is he driving these kids around?
I feel like they should have gone and rescued those children from the evil scientists.
The one that was experimenting on the children, yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. Because he doesn't know how to make the genome thing.
And he doesn't know how to look after kids.
No, so those children are probably going to end up in one of the homes we hear about in the next episode.
And like, as we know in this universe, foster homes are terrible.
They are, and social workers are all corrupt. Apparently.
Yeah,
the one that we know. Anyway,
great message for kids.
Yeah.
And then we get the classic end of the episode joke. We see a pair of scissors.
We do.
And I actually, this one made me laugh.
This was better than normal.
And Zeta's like, these are scissors. They used them before they had laser cuts. And Ro's like, I hate how parents say no running with the laser cutters. I bet they didn't have to hear that back then.
See, there's something to that one. It's not bad.
That's quite funny. I enjoyed that.
Yeah. What did you think of the episode overall?
It was fine.
I quite like this one. I thought it was quite good.
I think it's because I was hoping for plot-wise something.
Resolution. Yeah. Because I guess that, I imagine Bucky will show up next episode, but I feel like next season, but I feel like that could well wrap up his story because
I
think his parents and he's going to be with his parents and he'll be, happier or whatever.
I presume they've left it open enough that they can bring him back if they want to, but if they don't want to, it doesn't really matter.
No. But it didn't really. I think we were hoping that it was going to set the stage for the finale.
Yeah.
I think when we talked about it last time, we were like, Yeah, it'll be like
if we ignored those like predictions and hopes of the episode and just take it as a standalone episode compared to the rest,
yeah.
it was pretty good.
I think the fact so we didn't
Although
talk
the kids were really fucking annoying.
we didn't talk about yet, I don't think, how the ordering is different in different places.
No,
so the fact that you told me that before, I was not expecting a particularly good resolution, so I went into it quite open-minded. So
yeah, so on Wikipedia, this was last listed as the last episode of the next one before, and it was the same on some other websites, but IMDb had this one before.
I think the way that we're doing it this way makes more sense.
Yeah.
Because although the next one doesn't really resolve, it has a bit of a kind of...
Did you see the dates on Wikipedia?
No.
It was like weekly until this episode that was released like 2 months later. Or weekly or bi-weekly. So maybe something happened and they couldn't release it. It's meant to be 11th, but because something happened, it just got released a couple of months later.
Right.
Which is why there's a bit of a mix-up.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. No, I didn't look at the dates. No, I mean, I think we'll talk about it now. I think that it's probably one of those ones where it happened a lot over COVID, where production was changed, and maybe they were planning on a finale that then got rolled over into season 2.
Yeah.
So maybe it was supposed to be 13 episodes. Or maybe one of these is pulled across from season 2.
Or maybe this was like a backup episode.
Yeah.
In case they needed to. And then they're like, yeah, we're going to do that plot line in season 2. So let's throw in that Kid Genius episode.
That's it, yeah. Or maybe the whole thing was done as one and then they split it over 2. Because if you look at the, like on a lot of streaming websites, it's just as one big season.
Right.
But on a lot of other things, it is split as 2. So I think... Yeah. Either way, like, yeah, I mean, to go back to this episode specifically, I was going to go for like 8 out of 10.
Really?
Yeah, I thought this was one of the better ones. I like the weird caveman. I liked how Zeta actually did something.
No, I agree. I like the caveman.
The kids were annoying.
Yeah, I think that's what hold it. So I like the caveman. I like kind of the general story. I like Bucky and Tanner being in it because they're familiar characters.
It felt... Yeah.
But I was gonna give it a 7.
Yeah, fair enough.
The kids were really annoying.
I'm trying to be a bit more kind of like fluid with my ratings, because I think 6s and 7s end up being
everything.
Everything. I was like, I enjoyed that. I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10, you know? So,
okay, cool.
Yeah. And the Ape-Men, like you say, it was quite weird for this show. Like, we get a lot of robots. We don't get like mutants and stuff like that. So
no, you're right.
That was the thing that and the fact they had these loincloths made of Hawaiian shirts is just very, and then they've got like electric staves. So it's just like, that's just fucking weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, nice.
So that's the next is Rose Reunion. So yeah, I was gonna do the whole Google description thing, but we literally did that like 20 minutes ago.
Zeta Project.
But yeah, we can just go straight into this with you guessing the IMDb score. The last one was a 7.6.
7.5.
Ooh, close. 7.8.
Fuck. It's impossible.
One day. You've essentially got 100 numbers you can guess.
I know, and it's difficult to pick the right. The closest I got was like a couple of weeks ago, and I got it within like 2.2.
Yeah,
but not just 2 within 2.0. It's like, it's absolutely shocking.
There was once a 6.6, and I guessed 4.6. So close.
That's pretty normal though. That's the normal.
One day.
Yeah.
But yeah, this starts with another previously, and it basically shows Rose's entire backstory.
Yeah, and it kind of focuses on the fact that she's got a brother. She found out from Clancy Brown a couple episodes ago.
Clancy Brown, who has been in a lot of Lost episodes this week.
Of course, he's in everything. He's in fucking everything.
He literally is in everything.
I wonder if he's one of the most kind of prolific TV actors.
Yeah, man.
He must be, because or maybe it's just the kind of stuff that we both watch.
He's been in 3 different projects, plus like Mr. Krabs he's famous for, plus Lost I'm watching now. Like he just Clancy Brown, man.
Clancy Brown man.
Yeah, that's my if I was to ever write a comic book about my favorite superhero, Clancy Brown man.
There's an article here about there's a boys spin-off show, and apparently he's gonna be in it. And
Oh yeah, of course he is.
it calls him where is it? One of the most prolific. What does it say? One of the most prolific actors working today, and has dipped his toe into pretty much every franchise you can think of. And that is exactly what we were just saying. I was wondering if anyone else had. He's in. No, don't worry. Anyway,
so yeah. Anyway, this start it threw me off. The start of this episode because Rose like thinking about her brother, and I've written, oh shit, she's talking to him.
Yeah, she's in an internet cafe, and then there's just she's just sitting
talking to her brother,
and she's like, "Oh, I was
and he's
looking
like,
for you."
yeah, and then the brother turns into Zeta, and I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, that makes
more sense." Yeah, but it's a bit weird though. Why is she? I guess she's practicing to meet her brother.
Yeah, but
they're not even anywhere near to meeting him. So it's
and she doesn't know what he's like. She says Zeta's not cool enough.
Yeah,
but she's never met him.
No, she just assumes that he's going to be like cool because she's cool. She thinks she's cool.
Zeta's looking up records and finds out that he was in a foster home as well.
Yes, yeah, and then it skips to this Twin Cities or something.
Yeah, and they're at the foster home and they talk to this social worker.
Yeah, we get her name, but I can't remember what it is.
No.
And she's like, "Oh, well, why should I do that? If I look into you, Ro, what would I find?" And she's like, "I'm gonna level with you. I was in a shit home, and I'm supposed to be there, but be nice to me.
I want to find my own family. I want to find my brother."
And she's like, "Oh, well, we lost all of our records our records were damaged in a virus attack last year or whatever."
Yeah,
and she like pretends to look basically, and then goes, "Sorry, we don't have any records."
Yeah, and they're like, "Oh."
So now I'm thinking about it.
And they're like,
was she just pretending?
Yeah.
I
didn't get it at the time.
No.
Yeah,
because I said she pretends to look, but yeah, she.
I was like, oh, she's nice because she's like, I know what, we've got somewhere else that can help though.
Yeah, and she says
gives them address.
Yeah, they're supposed to ask for Harry Lux, and they go to they call it a vid studio. It's like a movie studio. Like a film lot.
And they get there and they're really confused. They're like, is this the wrong place? And then Zeta repeats the social worker's message in her voice.
Yeah.
And then suddenly there's a fire. There's a big fire on this movie studio.
It's super dramatic. There's loads of firefighters. They're all in quite cool outfits.
Yeah, and I've written Zeta springs into action.
He does. He almost reveals himself as a robot, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He lasers off like a ladder off the wall. Like,
but I think that everyone's looking at the fire. So
but he's still carrying this whole like fire escape on his head.
There's a woman up on like the second floor who is screaming. The firemen can't get to her because there's like explosions and stuff.
Yeah.
Zeta puts this ladder he's lasered off the wall up there, runs up and grabs the woman. And she's like, "What are you doing?" Then we hear cut, and the fire's turned off.
And he's like, "Get that." I think he says, "Like, get that wannabe out of here."
Yeah. And Zeta's really confused, and the woman's like, "The smoke damages my complexion. Now we have to do it again." And Zeta's like, "Oh, I'm sorry."
It's funny they don't use special effects in the future, isn't it? Like visual,
Yeah, that's weird. Because there's literally a guy who's got like a fire machine.
It like sucks the fire back in when it's like in between takes.
Yeah, because it's not just turning it off, because then it wouldn't. Yeah, unless it's turning it down.
It looks like I think it's that. So it's like a big flamethrower, isn't it? But...
Yeah, Ro like takes Zeta away.
Yeah, and he's like super dumb. Like he just doesn't understand. He's seen films before, like at least that one.
He's met Hollywood stars, or pretended to be Hollywood
pretended to be that guy called like Jack Blaze or something, wasn't it? Yeah, it was called something silly.
But some guy who's a bit of a Weinstein-esque character.
Yeah, I wouldn't go quite that far, but yeah,
he's
potentially
that typical like
sleazy kind of producer guy.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
He's got like a big suit on.
Yeah,
he's a bit like a mafia boss kind of guy.
Like balding. He's got a grey ponytail, maybe.
Yeah.
It's that kind of like slightly sleazy.
That classic
guy.
sleazy movie producer that was quite common in the 90s and 2000s on TV, but
yeah, I think maybe all based off, like you say, the Harvey Weinstein kind of character there. Yeah, he's called Harry Lux, and he's like, oh, Gwen. She was called Gwen, the social worker. Gwen called ahead, and they're like, this is Sky's place. She has a talk show, and they do like sob story stuff.
Yeah, and he's like, your look is perfect. It evokes pity. Wow.
And we see a girl on the TV show get reunited with her mum.
Her mum had an accident and lost her memory or something
like that. Yeah,
but they did their research, found the woman, and reunited them. And then they're like, and next time we'll reunite Rosaline Rowan.
And they just pan the camera to her in the audience.
She's like, what?
And she's like crying from this like sad sight she's just seen. And then they're like,
it's quite horrific.
Yeah,
and like the host is a bit more sympathetic than the rest of the thing, but that's still like a shitty thing to do.
Yeah, very. I mean, I think
she doesn't know.
Sky, the host, thinks that she'd already agreed.
Yeah,
but she's literally just walked into it. But still, like, it's very kind of exploitative.
Yeah, and Rose pissed off. She's like, I haven't agreed to be on TV.
Yeah, she was like, I can't be on the air. And they're like,
being hunted by government agency.
Yeah, exactly. And they're like, oh, well, it's a live feed, so it's gone out already.
Yeah.
And then we cut to the NSA being like, we got a hit on Rosalie Rowan in the Twin Cities.
And they're like, she's going to go on the show tomorrow. And Bennett's like, excellent. Let's head down there.
Let's wait until tomorrow. Because they do wait until they're like,
well, I guess they don't know where she's staying.
Yeah, but like, surely if you know.
Well, you could go there now.
Yes.
Tell everyone there, look, she's a fugitive.
When you see her, tell
me. We're gonna, put people, security guards around. We're gonna stake out this place, and when she arrives with Zeta, we'll jump out and get them.
And like, don't do the show, just pretend.
Yeah.
Rather than not coordinating with anyone and just showing up with guns at the show.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not really guns, are they? They're like rope guns.
Like what?
Rope guns.
Oh, that's not what I thought you said.
Like a stun, they shoot a rope out and it stuns them.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I said.
That would not be a kid's show.
No, but yeah, the
host Sky says hi to Zeta and Ro.
And Zeta's like, Ro's like, I didn't want to do it. And then
she's like, I'm sorry, I thought everything was.
Sky goes off, and then Zeta's like, no, you should do it. Like, this is your best chance.
Yeah, before that though,
right?
Sky says to Ro, like, they've got researchers across the country.
So
they get like, that's way too quick for reuniting, right? So that they're saying like these people have been looking for somebody for years. They can have at their studios the next day.
Well, yeah, this is the whole thing, isn't it? But it's still too good to be true even then.
That's ridiculous. like what if they're on holiday? What if they're at work?
And also the NSA are like useless.
Yeah.
And they're literally like the surveillance people, as we now know. And like basically a load of private detectives can do their job in like 12 hours.
Very, very bizarre.
I guess it's moving up the timeline because if they're like, we'll get you back in a week, or even a week is like so.
No, they said they'll get them back tomorrow, though.
That's what I mean. Yeah. So I'm saying even if they did like a week ahead,
it's still ridiculous.
It would still be ridiculous, but that would make a little bit more sense. But then it would be like, well, what are the NSA doing for the week while they're waiting? Like,
the way it'd work is you'd have the kids and they wouldn't be on screen. I think you talk to them, and then they'd be on TV 6 months, a year down the line, once they've arranged everything.
But because of the plot of this episode, it's got to be like
the next day.
The next day, yeah, exactly.
But anyway, Ro and Zeta have quite an emotional chat because she's like, she can't go on TV because the NSA, once Bennett sees, they'll never be able to see each other again because she'll be followed everywhere by the NSA.
Right.
And Zeta's like, you have to. It's your only chance.
I kind of missed
family.
that little conversation because I was it feels very like that's the end of their, he's saying goodbye to her basically, which I guess is what lends into the kind of finale feel of this a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, so when do they say? So Zeta's like, you should do it,
Yeah.
and then she goes, and it's the next day she turns up.
Yeah, I think so.
So it kind of skips ahead, and then they're like, "We found him. He's here." Straight away, like she says straight away.
Yeah,
it's a bit confusing.
They found her brother Casey. Yeah, I think the next day she goes into the studio.
She goes in, and they're like, "Yeah." So I think what they were gonna do is just have her sob story initially, and not have the reunion. And then when she goes in the next day, they're like, "He's here now."
Yeah,
I think that's supposed to be. It doesn't really matter. But yeah, Zeta's like, "Bye,"
and he's like watching from afar at the studio.
Yeah, and he is like basically saying his goodbye to her there, isn't he? It's quite.
But then he overhears a conversation.
Yes, there's a girl that's upset about something around the corner.
And it was the girl that was on the show yesterday, and it turns out her mum was an actress.
Yes, they faked the reunion.
See, they even faked the freckles.
Kind of pointless detail there, isn't it? She's like, even her freckles were fake.
And this little girl's being sent back to the foster home.
And the son of a bitch
social worker.
The daughter of a bitch social worker. What was she called? Gwen.
Gwen was setting it all up. Her and Harry Lux have got a little thing going on.
A little racket going on. And she gets money from Harry to provide sad children that have sob stories. Yeah. And then she gets money from the state by sending them back to their homes.
And she says, like, do you ever find them? And Harry's like, stop looking ages ago. It's not worth the cost.
And I think the social worker's like, well, you got to see. She doesn't do that.
Yeah, well, you got to see.
She's like, you got to spend a nice night in a hotel, so
be grateful.
Be grateful, you little brat.
And then she like drives her back to the home.
Yeah.
And Zeta confronts Harry. Lux,
yeah.
And he's like, I'm getting bro out of here.
He denies it for like 2 seconds, and then he's like, oh, you got me, okay? He's like, she's in the back of this truck. It's the makeup truck.
And Zeta goes in there and he's like, oh, what? There's nothing in here.
He's like, hang on. Yeah, you pull on my leg here, mate.
But Harry shuts the door behind him, locks it.
And he's like, quickly to this driver, drive him really fast out of here. And before Zeta has a chance to like bust open the back of the van, they're like miles out of the city.
On a highway, going through the desert.
I think all the boxes are like hitting him. So he's like, he can't. But considering we saw him get out of a trash compactor really easily, you would think that he would,
But he eventually uses his arm saw to cut the door. And the door opens and he's on the highway.
And he's just fucking around for ages.
Like, what? And
why doesn't he just jump straight out? Oh, is it because stuff's
falling? There's cars behind them.
Yeah.
He's clinging onto the door at one point.
And he like flips up on...
He switches into the robot form.
He changes into robot form. He flips up onto the roof.
Yeah, he dodges out the way, and like the door comes off.
Yeah.
At one point, he's like sliding along the floor.
it's quite a cool action
so
sequence.
Dramatic.
I've just written the
I was like, what the fuck is going on?
It's really dramatic. I think they were like, we need like a big action scene in this. But there's no stakes because. The thing is, the driver does get scared and lose control, but that's right at the end of the whole sequence.
But like this whole thing is so much more like, active and dramatic than we've ever seen in Zeta, I swear.
Yeah.
Like, even that bit where he was driving the logs down the mountain that we crashed in wasn't as like Mission Impossible, Fast and Furious.
It is like a Fast and Furious thing.
But yeah, he gets to the front of the truck and the driver panics, and then they start skidding all over the place.
And then the whole truck is like on its side,
going towards it. They're on a bridge now.
It's very Fast and Furious, actually. Yeah,
and they crash through the side of the bridge. But Zeta, being Zeta, grabs the driver and stretches his arm back up to the bridge and pulls up. I was like, what the fuck? It was
absolutely wild. Yeah, it was good fun, but I was like, what the fuck is going on here? It was really good.
And then we get a shot of Zeta running down the motorway.
So he changes back into human form after he rescues the guy, because I guess he's like, the guy's coming too.
But it's him like running towards the camera. And it's really dramatic.
Because he's so far away, he has to get back in time.
And he's just running.
He's fucking
and
pegging
got,
it down.
Speed lines behind him. And I was just like, what the hell?
It is like a very intense, like 5 minutes of this episode. Yeah,
It's probably going to be like 30 seconds, isn't it?
yeah, no. Yeah.
But yeah, wild.
It was great. Yeah, no, I didn't. I was like,
and then we cut to
go back to the boring talk show.
Rose.
This is quite funny, actually. There's the
Rose on the show, and she's talking about life away from home, and she's like, Sky, the host, is like, oh, he must have been lonely. She's like, yeah, kind of, but I did make one really good friend.
And it's this guy here.
And then we also see, what was her name? Gwen, the social worker.
Yeah,
she's got some handcuffs, and Harry's like, "What's that for?" She's like, she puts up a struggle. It's like, okay,
I missed that bit.
But then Sky's like, "We found your brother. Here's Casey."
Yeah,
and this tall, like blonde guy walks out,
Yeah.
big grin on his face. At this point, Bennett's there as well.
Yeah,
they're
sneaking at the back of the thing. Yeah, studio.
And Casey comes and sits down, and Ro like gets out the picture and kind of looks at him.
Yeah.
And Harry Lux is like, "What? You didn't say that was a picture?" And she's like, "Why does your hair look different?" And Casey's like, "Oh, I dye it. My girlfriend likes blondes." And it's like, your face is different.
Because the guy in the photo had a slightly rounder face like her.
Yeah.
And this guy's got quite a pointy chin, like, because as you find out, he's like an actor. He's got a bit of a kind of chiseled face going on there.
I couldn't remember what the picture looked like at this point. Then I was like, yeah, well, that passes for me.
I think they just went, she's blonde, here's a blonde guy.
Yeah.
But it's really like every question they ask him, he just has like a joke answer.
He's such a fucking comedian.
What's the first one? She's like, oh, it's like, where were you when you had the call? And he was like, I was asleep. It was very early. And everyone's like, it's like, that's not.
And then they're like, what were you doing on your way here? He's like, well, I had a coffee because I can't wake up for coffee. I was like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Like, the fuck is this guy? He's certainly not Casey. Zeta's reached the studio at this point.
Yeah.
And Rose like unsure about Casey. Zeta runs into the studio and is like, he's fake. And Casey's like, he turns to Ro and Sky and is like, wait, you're not actors too?
Yeah.
You feel like he would have been briefed?
Yes, you would. Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't really make any sense because if he was like, "Oh, can we do another take?" they would have just like, you know.
Yeah, but Sky is also surprised.
Yes, she doesn't know that anyone was actors, which is good.
The NSA shoot the rope guns at Zeta and
yeah.
pin him, and he changes back to his robot form. Ro attacks the NSA. Sky's trying to get it all to start.
Yeah, Rose being grabbed by one of the agents, and she like breaks free, and then she goes and like cuts like a rope that has like a lighting rig.
Yeah,
and it falls on Zeta, but breaks the ropes in the process.
Yeah, and Zeta
free.
Ro managed to get out.
Yeah, he uses his arm.
The NSA are fucking stupid. You'd have people everywhere.
Yeah, especially on the roof that has a big skylight that looks down like a big vent.
But they all just standing at the back of the room.
And they're like, oh, but let's go chase them. And then they go chase them, and there's a chase through the studio, and the big load of firefighters from the
the NSA are running through them, and then unsurprisingly, Zeta's changed into a fireman
and has Ro attached.
Do you remember like early on when Bennett had one of those goggles you could tell which one was Zeta?
Yeah, they dropped that in the
robot.
I think that was the first episode.
Yeah. Why don't they have that all the time?
I mean, Bennett always has green goggles on, so I just assumed that was those, but apparently not. Or maybe he has to turn them on.
Surely everyone should have some of them.
Well, that was a big plot point for the first like 2-3 episodes. Oh no, even further than that, because when on like Heading West or whatever, when there was the train episodes, he had them then, and then he breaks them, and then that was quite a good episode actually.
Yeah,
that had a very dramatic train stunt at the end, like a Mission Impossible kind of thing.
Oh, that was the one where Zeta couldn't reach the train behind, even though he's got stretchy arms.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
But yeah, because they've changed into firemen, they get away.
They get away. Very anticlimactic situation there.
And then Harry Lux is in the studio is like, well, that was a great show. And Sky's like, you're fired. You're obviously
like,
fired.
You're definitely fired.
And Casey's like, do I still get paid?
He's full of one-liners, isn't he? That guy?
And then we see Sky is on TV doing an interview being like, I had no idea this was fake.
Yeah.
Harry Lux and Gwen, the social worker, are both going to jail.
Yeah. I guess for like exploiting children or something like that.
And she's going to invite all the kids
every
back
kid.
and do the show properly.
Although, I mean, I guess they've got records for all of them, but if they're in care, they might not be allowed to, the care home might be like, we don't want you to go through that again.
Yeah. But they're invited, so they don't have any legal obligation.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
I was like, at least some good came out of this.
And she's like, oh, I don't have a family. Oh no, Zeta's like,
I'm sorry you couldn't
find me your family. And then she says, you're all the family I need for now. No, she says, for now anyway, you're all the family I need. And it's like, that's a very backhanded sentiment there, isn't it?
And then we get a final thing and it's got a telephone.
Yes.
And Rose Zeta's like, I don't know what the cord was for, which is funny because they're in the future looking back at like modern things. But we don't have phones with cords really anymore.
No. They say, I guess it's so they didn't lose the phone.
Yeah. No. But
that was not as funny as the
scissor one.
Yes, me too. But no, you're right. Yeah, it's already dated.
It's already dated.
I mean, their technology, it's almost verging on like a retrofuturism now, isn't it? Because they don't have like tablets or anything. Smartphones. I don't think they have any.
Yeah, they always have to go to an internet cafe to like plug in.
Yeah,
they could just go on their phone.
That's where it's like. There's going to be a new term for that kind of retrofuturism that's like 90s.
It's like turn of the century futurism.
Something like that, yeah. Millennial futurism.
Yeah.
Millennial futurism, something like that. But no, it's fun though. In that's more of a... that's like a nostalgia futurism for us. Whereas the other one was nostalgia futurism for people who were born in like the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So...
I enjoyed the episode. I thought that was good fun.
Did you like that more than the other one?
Yeah, I think I did.
It was the other way around. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I think it was quite silly in a good way.
It was silly in a good way. The twist about the TV show I didn't see coming.
I didn't either.
I was like, okay, that's fun. And then the action scene on the highway.
To be fair, yeah,
was good fun. I'm gonna give it an 8.
Yeah, you know what? I was leaning more a 7 after I watched it. I was thinking like, not quite as good as the other one, but I think it fills in the parts the other one doesn't. Almost, they kind of complement each other quite well as a pair. So yeah, I'll go for an 8 as well. Yeah.
We could have got more. We could have seen like West a bit more.
That's the only thing, yeah.
Yeah, and we could have had that other agent that is sympathetic towards
Lee,
Zeta.
I think it was.
It was Agent Lee.
Yeah.
But it was just, and obviously it could have been a better season finale. But after watching the last one, I was like, oh, they're not doing that. It's just going to be more one-off episodes, which helped me enjoy this a bit more, I think.
If you see it as kind of a mid-season break in a way, then it kind of works, And also, not everything ends in a season finale, does it?
Yeah, no, exactly.
It kind of, in a way, it is because they had a bit of a resolution of certain. I mean, they didn't really actually, did they? No, they kind of were like, "Hey, for the 5th time, we're happy together without anyone else."
Yeah.
In a way, the Bucky one kind of resolved more, but. Yeah.
But so that is the end of Zeta season 1.
Yeah. How are you feeling overall about Zeta? I mean, want to take some time off it, obviously.
Yeah, it's fine. Like I am invested in the characters.
Yeah.
And I've got generally positive view on it. Yeah,
I'd say the same.
I'm not like, right, that's it. Let's not do season 2.
No. I think those 2 episodes particularly, there was some cool stuff from Zeta in them, and that made me think like, okay, I'm looking forward to getting back to this at some
I
point.
think like a season 2 can go different ways because it can either have its budget cut and not be able to do as much because it wasn't too popular, or they might be able to. I say they might be able to. They did this 20 years ago. Look at what people liked and didn't like about season 1 and feed it into season 2.
Yeah. I mean, it depends how much of it was a kind of rollover or if it was one production. But that's something we can look into at some point in the new year when we return to it.
Yeah.
I am looking forward to it. But yeah, it'd be nice to take a little break and really miss that lovable robot, Zeta.
Yeah. So is that
is that for now.
Which means now it's time for
personal projects.
This time it's personal projects.
So we got the 2 things we mentioned up front. We're going to talk about Guardians and or what do you want to start with? Guardians or Andor?
I've got Andor first on here.
Cool, let's do Andor then.
Yeah.
So last time we covered it was the end of the prison break. This is the final 2 episodes.
That's right. So quite a lot happened in these 2, didn't it?
Yeah. So I had quite a big gap between I watched them.
Yeah. I watched them all a while ago.
But that finale I thought was really good.
It was, yeah.
His mum's like speech on the hologram,
really good.
And it
I liked how it was kind of clearly building to like this anti-Empire sentiment.
Yeah.
And as soon as she starts being like very vocal, the guy goes in, tries to put his jacket over it.
and it just kicks off. It was a really good showing of like ground level hatred for the rebellion, and everyone just kind of had enough, which we don't really see too much. A lot of it is the rebels,
but like the actual militant kind of side of it. And
it's just the people,
because they talk about like that we refuel them, we give them like resources, and they're all just like fucking sick of it, and it's just like
it kind of like the bit where that kicked off kind of reminded me of like footage or like reenactments of like miners' strikes in the 80s and things like that.
It's like, very that kind of
real,
vibe,
like,
isn't it?
Mass group of people, and obviously they're there for a funeral, which is a peaceful thing.
That whole bit with the musical procession was so good.
Yeah.
And it's building, and it's this kind of weird, like ominous kind of like brass band kind of music, and then they change the pace and they're all marching, and they've said they were very clear that it's like 30 people or whatever, and it ends up with like the whole town is just there.
And like the Empire get overrun essentially. And I was just like,
I love how it was like the brick that was like made from her ashes or whatever it was, like the memorial brick is like he smacks one of the guys with it.
Yeah.
And the guy making the bomb, and you're like not really sure if he's gonna like sabotage the funeral or like what really. You know that he's doing it because his dad got killed or whatever, and he's got the another thing I really liked about that finale, and it kind of goes through the 2 episodes a little bit, but how like it does the thing where everyone ends up in the same place apart from like Mon Mothma, but they don't really interact with each other, a lot of them. They're just all present for this big event.
And even Stellan Skarsgård's there, not taking part,
he just needs to know what happens basically. And it's like it's such a bad move for him to go there because he's this high profile-ish kind of person, and it's like his wife or whoever the person who works the shop would have been like, fucking don't go, you're dumb. He's there,
just needed to,
and he gets
it.
caught up in it, and like he looks a bit like worse for wear after the explosion or whatever.
I like the fact as well that like they had this big fight with the Empire at this funeral, and it's not centered around Andor. Andor's doing his own thing.
Well, that's the whole thing throughout, I think. Although we're seeing Andor get more and more into the idea of the rebellion, he's still like, he's like the hype man for actual rebels. Like he doesn't, it's partly a survival thing where he doesn't want to stick his neck out. But in doing so, like with the prison break with Andy Serkis, he's like the guy who pushes them into action. And he's becoming that more and more for people, and like him, not being involved, but going to save.
It's like the idea of Cassian Andor means more to these people than actual Cassian Andor. And it was kind of like these people kind of more anti-Empire than Andor is. It's just these people just living their life lives. Like
definitely, yeah.
whilst he goes and saves his friend and gets her
Yeah.
on the ship, and that's all good. But yeah, I was like,
it was really cool. Like, and all the Mon Mothma stuff as well. Like, we see that all of her paranoia is like well founded because the husband's in the pocket the whole time.
yeah,
and you're like, that's, you know, that's, and she's kind of like gaslighting him with the gambling thing, and that's trying to put, like, I think it's trying to be like to tell the informants that she doesn't, like, she's trying to put off the fact, like, as if like she doesn't know where the money's gone, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's because they mentioned there was some financial irregularities that must answer, but it makes the Empire aware that there's tensions between them, and they're not just playing happy families, because they could quickly find out they're not just a happy family, and they'd start asking why. She's given them a reason why they're not a happy family.
That's it. She's almost putting it back on him, the whole issue, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, or at least complicating it. Thought that was really cool. And we see like the daughter is kind of getting into the religion that from where they came from, is it?
Yeah.
At one point I was like, is this going to be like a force related religion? But it's more like the conservative classical religion that made them get married as young people. So that's why she's seemingly okay being introduced to the gangster's son at the end or whatever happens there. Yeah. There's it was really good fun. I think no idea where it's gonna go after this, but I'm quite happy with that.
I presume we'll get Melchi back in season 2 because they showed him in the prison, and we know he's in Rogue One.
Yeah,
or maybe we get Andy Serkis back.
I hope so, but also I could see them doing this kind of real life thing where it's just like he was just a guy in his life, and he just might never see him again, kind of thing. I quite like that kind of it. You know, it's been said a million times, but it's so much more grounded than anything we've really seen in Star Wars.
Yeah,
apart from maybe Rogue, like the this kind of aspect of Rogue One. But then we've got with Rogue One as well, we've got like the Darth Vader and the space battles and stuff. Like, but all this stuff is just it's just good TV, isn't it?
Yeah,
really?
Did I send you that clip of somebody who was like got a shot from either Rogue One or A New Hope where there's the rebels meeting and there's a guy in the background who looks a lot like Stellan Skarsgård, and they're like, huh?
Well, we got some. We also have that part. Speaking of space battles, where he has that really good escape, and he's getting tractor beams, and then he releases all like the bombs, destroys the radar dish, and then has the 2 lasers and just starts like cutting shit up.
Yeah,
and it's just like this guy knows exactly what he's doing.
Oh yeah, he's great.
And then carrying on with him, the ending with him and Andor, I assume is like he's kind of like Andor's got to the point where he doesn't care about himself anymore, and he's not selfish. And I think that kind of little smile at the end is kind of like, you've kind of proven yourself to me. Yeah, that's kind of how I took it.
I think Andor's been converted by that manifesto he got given by the kid on the heist, and he's kind of like, I've lost everything. My mum's not even around anymore.
Yeah.
I've got the people I care about safe from this town.
That's it, yeah.
I've either got nothing to live for or join the rebellion.
Pretty much, yeah.
And he's given that choice to Stellan Skarsgård.
Yeah, exactly.
The actor.
Yeah. He's called like Luther and Andros.
Luther Andros.
Luther Vandross. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Luthen something.
Luthen, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good.
What was that thing that he had that looked like a lightsaber? Was that his weird? Because he had a staff in one of the first episodes, like a little cane. Luthen Vandross. He had a little cane that he was walking with, which we never saw again. And then when he got searched in Saw Gerrera's lot, I think in the episode before 11, so episode 10, if you're following along, he had like it looked like a wooden lightsaber, like hilt, and then they like searched him and they were like, what's this? And he was like, oh, it's not a weapon, don't worry, and took it back. And they're like, that's a weird little thing.
I don't remember.
I don't imagine he's going to be a Jedi, because I feel like the whole point of this is that it's normal people.
Yeah.
I also really like how like throughout the whole thing, just so many people just die. like in the prison bit, we get to meet people and then they're just fucking dead. And like the manifesto guy just killed by a box, basically. It's just quite bleak in a way.
There was no no Force stuff at all in this series. Like,
Yeah.
The Mandalorian, we've had stuff with obviously Grogu and
Yeah,
then later Luke and Ahsoka being in Boba Fett.
Yeah.
This is just straight up none of that.
Yeah.
And which kind of fits with
Yeah,
Rogue One as
yeah.
well, because Rogue One, all we get is the Vader scenes, whereas this is just like, no, this is just street level rebellion.
Yeah, and I think that's why it feels so refreshing, because it's almost not a Star Wars show. It's a show set in the Star Wars universe more than anything.
I know what you mean.
The thing that I thought was, did you see the post credits?
Can't remember.
It basically is like a shot of like some droids putting together the part that they made, and it zooms out, and it's like, it's part of the Death Star. That was I could have done without that. I feel like you could have imagined that.
I went to the toilet and came back, and the credits are still playing, and then that came. I was like, oh, okay. But that final shot where it's got the Death Star like facing up with all the bits looked incredible.
It does look cool, and it's also quite similar to the Andor logo with like the kind of planet and the circular shape. I don't know if that was intentional there, but the whole like slow descent into fascism stuff I thought was really interesting, and is very, like, I was gonna say very topical. I mean, it kind of is, but yeah, I think that side of seeing the Empire like tighten its grip is really interesting, because we kind of skip through a lot of that. Normally we skip from Revenge of the Sith to New Hope, and they've just become this like Nazi
fascist
kind of
yeah, it's cool because like George Lucas has always been very open about how the Empire is fascist and is a reflection of real world fascism.
Yeah, I think they even make comparisons with America and Vietnam. He's made before. Yeah.
But like we always just see like, here's a fascist state.
Yeah.
Whereas like, I think in modern climate, it's quite good to show the steps towards a fascist
the creeping fascism. And I spoke about it a couple of weeks ago, like whatever the prison reform bill that they put in that doubles the sentences, and it's the fact that no one's heard of it and it's just being crept in is very topical in many ways.
In many countries,
including
our own.
Absolutely.
It did remind me of that when they slid through the essential ban on protesting.
Yes, well, that's come up again recently. Rishi's good old Rishi is cracking down on what's so-called illegal protests, whatever that may be.
Which itself shouldn't be a term.
No, exactly.
I saw in America they've been talking about illegal strikes recently, and
beautiful.
Like, people have the right to strike.
They should do, yeah.
But yeah, overall thoughts on Andor?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think there was definitely some slower parts, and I think within those little story arcs, which are mostly like 3 episodes together, some of them, the first 1 or 2 of those. So like the first one, the prison was pretty solid throughout. The heist, the first 1 or 2 did go on a little bit.
Yeah.
But overall, I think it was potentially the best Star Wars series in a lot of ways.
Maybe. I think I enjoyed The Mandalorian more, but I think with this, I watched it in a weird way. Like, I watched the first 2, then waited like 4 weeks and watched like 3 and then waited.
I would, it felt quite disjointed in that sense.
But I think that's because of how, and I didn't watch
and
it
it's also
in the story
those,
arc.
Yeah, it's in those little bits anyway.
I think I'll probably rewatch it before season 2 comes out and probably appreciate it more.
I think they've just started filming it, maybe season 2, or they're in pre-production, so it'll be at least probably this time next year at the very earliest. Probably longer than that. I don't know how long it takes them to film stuff like this, but
but yeah,
it'll be out next week. Actually, they finished. They started and they finished.
Shall we move on to Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special?
So this is the second special presentation that we've had for Marvel. I tried to look out the window and clonked my head. Second special presentation after Werewolf by Night, which we had in early October. This was a similar runtime of 40 minutes, about half an hour with credits. What did you think kind of overall compared to, if you're comparing it with Werewolf by Night?
I preferred Werewolf by Night.
Did you?
I enjoyed this, but I thought it was quite weird. Lots of it I was kind of like, this is And like,
because it's playing on the idea of a holiday special a little bit.
Yeah, and obviously
A little bit.
when we discussed it a couple of weeks ago,
Yeah.
I think in Project News,
Yeah.
we mentioned like how canon will it be?
Yeah.
And I watched this and I was like, I'm still not sure how much
I'm-
of this
I'm-
they're going to take.
I'm pretty sure the whole thing, I think it's like a prelude to 3.
because obviously the
Because
whole
They like, we've got nowhere from the collector.
Yeah, which
And Cosmo
seemed-
the space dog is just part of the team now. That was the one thing that felt a little bit disjointed to me.
and Peter's got a sister now.
Well, so that was kind of alluded to in 2 because we knew that Mantis was there for some reason with Peter's dad. And one of the bits that we see of all the different races that Peter's dad fucks, one of them was Mantis's race.
So I remember that
and
being...
she kept being like, I've got this secret, but I don't remember if she ever told Drax on
'cause
screen.
I was watching with Christina and she was like, did we know that? And
I
was
wasn't
like-
sure that either. That's one of the first bits I noticed.
I was
I was like,
it didn't surprise me as if we'd had the hint before, but I couldn't remember anything explicit.
I don't think. No, we didn't get any explicit sex scenes with Mantis's mum. Definitely.
No.
But yeah, we start off with the. It's like, I think it's supposed to be like Star Wars holiday special cartoon.
Oh,
thing.
I hated
It
the
looked
animation style.
disgusting.
Oh
like-
my god! And then when they revisited it at the end, I was like, "Oh, what? Oh no!"
Because it's like, what is it? It's like Ralph Bakshi or something who did like. Do you remember there was that Lord of the Rings that was like that weird rotoscope thing?
Yeah.
That's what they're trying to do, but it looked ugly and bad.
Oh, it was horrible.
It's horrible.
I genuinely like. So I hadn't watched any trailers or anything. When
Oh no,
it's-
that I'd
when
seen,
it started, I was like, if this fucking stays like this, I'm turning it off. Like, honestly.
I'd seen a poster and I knew that. Well, I didn't know it was focused on Mantis and Drax, which I think was one of the better parts of it, that we got to see those two.
Yeah.
I didn't expect everyone to be like in it all the time, but
No, we don't get much like Rocket and
no.
we get an older Groot, which was quite
Yeah.
fun, who's been going to the fucking gym.
yeah. I saw James Gunn was saying like, because he's technically like the son of the other Groot, he's grown up slightly differently, and but he's still like kind of a child. They said like they were like he's still young, so I think he's just like a buff
I
teenager.
think he's like late teens now.
Yeah.
Whereas before he was like early teens.
Yes, yeah, because he was like super skinny and like with a big
Stroppy
head,
and-
and now
yeah.
he's just like fucking ripped.
He's so ripped.
But I'm imagining that the characters we didn't see much of in this are going to take the leads in 3. And that's
Yeah.
probably why
Like Nebula
Nebula.
isn't in this much. Although she has a nice little dancey bit at the end.
Yeah, so there was quite a lot of songs in this because obviously Guardians and James Gunn, it's quite
Yeah.
song heavy. Some of it I liked. One song in particular was the Wombats Christmas song, and I was like, I do not like this being in this. It makes me feel very strange. Like, I don't
Yeah.
love the Wombats, and I don't like that song
Didn't
particularly.
they have the Strokes Christmas?
The Julian Casablancas one.
The
I was
Julian
like, this is exactly what I expect. It's James Gunn's like slightly deep cut Christmas playlist.
Yeah, I said to Christina about halfway through the episode, is like they're definitely going to release an album of this because
Yes.
they put in, it was 45 minutes and they put in like 10 to 12 songs.
And some of them are more of like, it's the Cardigans one, I think, when they're at the club.
Yeah, and obviously they have the band playing.
So that
song.
I liked. I thought
I
that was
enjoyed
fun
that,
because
yeah.
it's very like almost like A Nightmare Before Christmas, where it's like this very obvious misunderstanding of Santa and Christmas.
Yeah.
And I thought that was quite fun. We haven't talked about Kevin Bacon yet, which is weird, but the Kevin Bacon song at the end I did not like. I thought that was verging on like a little bit cringy for me.
Yes, I think I agree. I didn't like. I think Kevin Bacon was a standout in this episode.
Yeah, I really liked him. Although because he's in so many adverts in the UK for EE, I was kind of a bit like,
it's the EE guy.
it's the EE guy.
But like the stuff where he's just himself. So like at his house when
he's just
Drax-
scared of these aliens.
Yeah.
And Mantis is like crawling on the wall like a weird bug
Yeah,
and like
it's-
leaping around.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
like the moment where he's in the shuttle and he's like, and the guy's like, oh, and he
Yeah.
gets a bit emotional. I was like, Oh, actually, this
Yeah.
is quite nice.
I thought it was really funny how like everyone just hates actors. And I think,
Yeah.
what does he say? Drax says actors are repugnant. And it's obviously very funny because they're all actors,
They're all
aren't they?
actors,
So it's very kind
yeah.
of self-deprecating. But yeah, when there's the chase in the house and then they have the fight with the police, which is the one kind of action scene.
Yeah. I enjoyed Mantis giving the police the candy cane.
Yeah, and there's the whole thing of like Drax thinks it's a man.
Yeah,
like
you got to keep your small person.
and there's just and then the small person is the gift at the end.
Yeah.
Um,
I really enjoyed the joke as well, where was it Groot that made gifts for everyone?
and they're the little dioramas.
And the little diorama of the episode. And then the last one is the guy, forgot the character's name, it's James Gunn's brother. Kraglin. And it's him holding the gift and he turns
and then it's like a Russian doll's going down.
That's so dumb, but
Very
it's brilliant.
Good. He's got his fin like fully molded into his skull. It's disgusting. I like that. One thing I did think was weird is they kind of missed the chance to do a Home Alone thing with Kevin Bacon's house. Considering he's called Kevin, he's alone for Christmas, and two people are trying to break in.
Yeah,
I feel like there's like a cut
you could
joke
at least
there
make
or
a
something.
joke,
yeah. There's the fight with the cops. I thought it was great that Drax is just like ridiculously strong and bulletproof. We don't really see them fighting like normal people ever, so it's kind of good to see those power levels kind of reflected. What else did we get? Bucky's arm. That's a joke. That's a joke from Infinity War. Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna get that arm.
And is it Bucky's arm or is he made a replica?
I think it is the arm. I think this is another thing I've seen. James Gunn replied to a tweet and was like, "Yeah, it's the arm. Just fucking deal with it." Like, it's so is that what you're thinking about how canon it is? As well? I guess it's like a spare one, or
right. I thought it might just be Ajax. I guess he's been in Wakanda. They might have made him a new arm.
That's it, yeah. And Nebula just went down and nicked it, or they all know each other a little bit. Maybe it's a spare or whatever. But and then we get the flashback to the horrible cartoon and. And Yondu was nice, and he gave him the guns, and he gave him the little bobblehead that he had, which was his little fun thing.
The little troll.
Kind of takes away from the fact that he has a nice turn at the end of 2, because I guess it's like he was nice all along, but Peter then would have known that he was nice. It's kind of a bit, but well, I didn't hate that.
He never hated Yondu.
No, but.
So it still might have been like
I guess that was the one nice thing he ever did for him, and it's like he actually loved him the whole time.
And it might be he might have grown up and been like, oh, actually, Yondu gave him them because he wanted me to be armed because he wanted me to
or
shoot
maybe
people.
He kind of almost forgot about that, and then the good turn of Yondu made him kind of remember the good things that he'd done, that kind of thing. But yeah, overall, like I think the difference with this and Werewolf by Night is how we already knew these characters, so it was like a mini adventure for them, whereas Werewolf by Night was like an introduction. And I think both are really good uses of the short format. And I'm excited that we've seen the two versions that they can do. And just I'm up for any of these, to be honest. More of these, less series, more of these.
Have we got another one planned?
I don't think so. I mean, we've got a couple project ones planned, haven't we? You're looking at me very confused.
What?
We got the Frank Zagarino special presentation.
I
don't know. There's lots of rumors about like I think there was a like Nova has been rumored, Silver Surfer. I think one of the Wakanda things that was going to be a show maybe was reported to be one of these now. So maybe following Dora Milaje.
They should do an Inhumans short.
They should.
It was originally going to be a film, wasn't it? And then got screwed over and turned into a terrible TV series. And we've seen Black Bolt in Doctor Strange.
Yeah. Although
and just make the TV series like. Not kind of
what they could do is have. I mean, if Miss Marvel hadn't had her origin changed to a mutant, they could have something. So imagine it's not Miss Marvel. Have someone discover they're an Inhuman and have their like origin, and then at the end they get taken to wherever it's called, and they meet the royal family, and then that's the introduction to Inhumans without having to do the whole Inhuman thing, and then they can just show up in a thing in the future. Something like that. I imagine they'll do some street level stuff, like have Squirrel Girl or some vigilante type person.
They could
Something like that would be good. I would love to see like a little Spider-Man short, but I know that with Sony stuff, I don't know how that works.
They could do with Sony. They could do like a Miles Morales.
I was
like,
thinking that, but I
introduction.
think because he's such a big character now with Spider-Verse in the game, I think they'll save it for another film, won't they? But
yeah, fair enough.
yeah, I'm up for any of these, and I very much enjoyed it. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So anything else to?
No. I have watched a couple of other bits, but I think we maybe save them for another episode. We're getting up to an hour and a half. It's the perfect sized episode, I would say.
Well, on that note, then I think we'll call it. Thank you for listening. It's always appreciated. But if you want us to see how much you appreciate it, because we appreciate you listening, you can appreciate it by giving us 5 stars.
You can.
That sounded better in my head when I tried to put the words.
I feel like this has been a bit of a loose episode. My brain's kind of not been working in this second half. So if you appreciate how little my brain's been working, you can give us 5 stars. There we go.
Or you can get in contact with us directly. If you come across an interesting bit of project news, perhaps.
Oh, and we don't even ask for that. Yeah, absolutely. Project news. We're going to be moving into the new year soon, as you can imagine, based on the date this is released. So as we're doing so, it'd be great to have some new projects. So if you have found anything that we haven't yet covered, please do send it our way. You can contact us at theprojectpod@gmail.com. Or you can find all of our social medias in the link tree in episode description.
You can. So thank you for listening. I will hear you next week.
And I'll see you next time, PP Squads.
Oh, no. Bye.
Bye.